Hi friends, hope you're doing well. This video is about the planet Mercury. Like any other planet, Mercury is also a very important planet and it plays a very significant role in your chart because Mercury represents a lot of things. It represents your intelligence, it represents your nervous system. Mercury represents your education, it represents mathematics, it represents scientific learning. Mercury represents communication skills, it represents commerce, trades, business. So, Mercury represents a lot of things. Hence, Mercury is a very important planet, at least in this present era or this present age. If you want to succeed in this materialistic world, if you want to grow, do well in this age, you have to have a strong Mercury. A strong Mercury can take you a long way in present age. Now, coming to houses, Mercury does pretty well in third house, it does well in the fourth house, it does well in the fifth house, it does well in the seventh house, it does well in the sixth house also, it does well in 10th house, it does well in 11th house. So Mercury is a planet which does really well in most of the houses because uh, because Mercury represents a lot of things, hence it does quite well in most of the houses. Third house is good because it's about communication, and Mercury is a planet of communication. It is about media, so Mercury is about media. So fourth house is also a good place because it is about education. So Mercury, a strong Mercury here, can give you good education. Fifth house is about your intelligence. Fifth house, hence a good Mercury in a fifth house can make you intelligent. Mercury also does pretty well in sixth house. If a Mercury is in, there are a couple of reasons why Mercury does well in the sixth house. One, because the sixth house in a Kala Purusha chart is that of Virgo. Now, Virgo is where Mercury is exalted, and it is also the Mula Trikona sign of Mercury. Hence, Mercury does really well in sixth house. And a person who's uh, uh, has a good Mercury in the sixth house can really do well in finance, because sixth house is also about your profession. So these are the two reasons why Mercury does well in sixth house. You will do very well in accounts, subjects related to accounts, and profession related to finance and so on. Now Mercury also does well in the seventh house. Seventh house is about relationship. Now Mercury in seventh house can make, you know a strong Mercury in the seventh house, can make a partner very good in communication with others, right? So in a relationship, communication is very important, and hence Mercury in seventh house does really well. uh, Mercury does well in 10th house as well, because 10th house is about profession, and Mercury, a strong Mercury can make a person intelligent, can make a person do well in, in science, in mathematics, in even in astrology for that matter, or in finance, commerce, and so on. So Mercury, like any other planet, does well, like most other planet rather, does well in 11th house as well. Mercury is not very good in 12th and ninth house. Now, because these are more of spiritual houses, are more of religious house, and Mercury is not really a spiritual planet per se. It's more of a planet which will give you success in, in your materialistic or professional world, even in your personal life, but it's got more to do with materialistic things. Hence Mercury doesn't really do well in 12th and ninth house. Mercury is pretty good in the second and first house as well. So except for 9th, 12th, and 8th house, Mercury kind of does well in all other houses. I have already told you about 12th and 9th houses. Even in the 8th house, Mercury kind of struggle, because 8th house is also about sudden transformation, is about occult and all those things. Though Mercury in 8th house can mean a person who's interested in astrology per se, but Mercury doesn't really do well in these three houses: the 12th house, the 8th house, and the ninth house. Uh, Now, coming to signs, Mercury does really well in its own signs, which is Virgo and Gemini. In Virgo, Mercury is exalted. Mercury does well in Mercury also does well in signs like Libra, or for that matter, or Taurus. Mercury does well, you know, Mercury does well in signs like Capricorn, or for that matter, in Aquarius. Now, Mercury struggles in signs like Pisces and uh, Sagittarius, because there's a Jupiter rule sign, there's a spiritual sign. So here Mercury doesn't really do well. Now, coming to Mars signs, which are that of Aries and Scorpio, there also Mercury is not very good, not very comfortable, because Mercury doesn't really do well with Mars. Now, coming to the planets, as I've already said, Mercury kind of considers Moon as its enemy, and considers Venus and Sun as its friends, whereas all other planets is considered as neutral. Now, Mercury with Mars can be a difficult combination from a communication point of view, because what happens is Mars is about aggressive and Mercury is about communication. So hence your communication can become kind of aggressive. It can also mean that you may pick up fights which are not necessary. Mercury also doesn't really do well with Jupiter, because with Jupiter, Mercury kind of struggles, because Jupiter is a spiritual planet, Mercury is a materialistic planet. Hence, a spiritual and materialistic, kind of combination kind of confuses a person. So Mercury does really well with Sun and Venus. Now, Sun, why? Because Sun can make Mercury excel as far as intelligence is concerned. And this yoga is called as Buddhaditya yoga, which means that a person is extremely intelligent. Mercury also does really well with Venus. Uh, Mercury, so when you talk about good planets combination, Mercury does well with Sun and Venus. Mercury is kind of okay with a Saturn. Mercury is not very comfortable with planets like uh, Jupiter, Mars, and Moon. It considers Moon to be its enemy. Now, a strong Mercury in your chart, a well aspected Mercury of good planets conjunct with Mercury, Mercury in good houses, can mean a lot of things. It can mean that you're an intelligent person. It can mean that you're an analytical person. It can mean that you have good communication skills. You can interact with people well. It can mean that you will do well in the materialistic world. Whereas a weak Mercury can make a person suffer from nervous disease. Diseases related to your nervous system, because Mercury also represents your nervous system. A weak Mercury can mean that you may have a difficult education life. It can also mean that your intelligence level is kind of low. So that's what Mercury will indicate if it's weak in your chart. Now, guys, this is what I wanted to tell you about Mercury. Hope you liked my video. Please subscribe to my channel. Please share my video. Thank you. Take care. Bye bye.